Morning, everyone. Hi. Wow, what a group! What a special group! I came in yesterday, and I was able to hear the keynote speaker last night. Joyce, is she here? Beautiful, beautiful presentation, and let's give her a round of applause for that and all the work that she does. It's too bad that we couldn't see the rest of that video, because I like for you to see what goes on and to see the condition of our school and all those good things that it kind of brings it to life. But maybe later on we'll be able to see that. But I want to thank Mr. Chuck Hubbard for inviting me over. I know that man is very patient, very flexible, and trying to do that, something that hasn't been done in our district. I had to go to the superintendent of the second largest school district in the nation to give me permission to come here, and it took quite a bit to convince him. And I thought at some point Mr. Hubbard would just give up and just, you know, ask somebody else to come up here. But he was very patient. I appreciate that, sir, because so far it's been a great experience for me. And thank you. Let's give him a round of applause for his... So today I want to share with you a story. Okay, a story about hope and a story about what can be accomplished if you truly, truly are focused and what's best for the students. And I'm coming from the perspective of an educator. All of my life I've been a teacher, an educator, and I think a lot of you are as well. Can I see a show of hands of those that are teachers or in schools? Wow, thank you for being here. You know, so I'm giving you the perspective of an educator. So my story is about hope. And I know all of our schools are unique, and we all have our challenges. They're not all quite the same. So today I'm going to share with you my journey at a school where my staff, my teachers included in that staff, and parents and community, and the students obviously, got together and made a difference in the lives of all students there at Garfield. And it was a tough journey. And I will share some of it with you with this presentation and maybe break it down a little more in the workshops. But it is possible. So today I'm going to begin to give you a little snapshot of what Garfield is all about. To give you the story, I want you to know a little bit about the school. First of all, let me go back to that picture. That was the original picture. That school, that was the original building. Our school was built in 1925. Okay, one of the oldest schools in our district. And unfortunately, in 2007, there was a fire, an act of vandalism before I got there on a weekend. And that building was connected to our auditorium, beautiful museum-like auditorium, and it burned down. The whole thing burned down. It was too late to save it. The integrity of all the buildings were compromised, and so they had to demolish the whole thing. And now we have a very beautiful building, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But East LA, I don't know if you are familiar with that. I think most of you are all from Texas, Texans, proud Texans, great to be here. But Garfield High School was built on tradition. It was built in 1925, like I said. There are many fourth and fifth generation families. And one of the things that makes us unique, I think you all heard of Mr. Jaime Escalante, who was the person that put us on the map. He made a famous movie. There was a movie made about him, Stand and Deliver, about how he took a group of 18 students. I'm talking about smack in the middle of East Los Angeles, one of the poorest towns of Los Angeles. And those kids took the AP Calculus exam. He worked with them for a couple of years. And most of the kids, I think all of the kids passed that test. So when they compare that to the national average, they say, wait, what's going on here? Why are these kids passing with 4s and 5s? That's almost a perfect score. There has to be something wrong. It goes back to what Joyce was saying yesterday. So they challenged us. They said, there's no way these Mexican-American kids can do what they did. They must have been cheating. So what happened? They made them retake the test. Now with some, and there were some political things going on with that, issues with that, but they made them take the test with monitors, with people walking around to make sure that they didn't cheat. Well, guess what? most of the kids did better the second time than they did the first time. So that, he opened the eyes of many. And Mr. Escalante, we named the auditorium after him in his honor. He made believers out of the non-believers. And that's the task that I want to talk about today. One more thing that we have at our school that's unique, we have the Garfield Roosevelt game. If you see it there, and I know the Texans love their football, and high school football is big here. But I'll tell you what, it's not like that in California. But this game is a game has been played since 1925. And so there's a tradition every year. So we fill up a stadium. It's a regular football game, and it's considered the most attended high school game west of the Mississippi. It's not a playoff game. It doesn't mean much, but bragging rights that you beat Roosevelt or Roosevelt beat Garfield. And it's a big deal. Over 20,000 people show up to the stadium, and many are turned away because they don't fit. There's no space for them. So the reason I show you this is because I want you to know that there's a lot of tradition there. There's a lot of hope. So who goes to these games? People that graduated in the 60s, people that graduated in the 70s, all the alumni. It's like the biggest thing in East Los Angeles, our school, and that game. So there's a lot of hope. And they send their kids there. They send their grandkids there. They send their children, their nieces, their nephews, in hopes that they will be better than they were themselves. But it's been stagnant for a long time. After Mr. Jaime Escalante left, it was stagnant because if you think about it, that was only one man making a difference in the math classes. You still had, at that time, folks, we had about 5,000 students at Garfield High School. 5,000 students. It was a year-round school. It never closed. We had different tracks. So if you look at the whole picture, those were 18 students, and then you had 5,000 in attendance. So there was a lot of work to be done. So our school, and I think the educators will like this, will relate to this if you work in inner city schools or tough schools. Our school was a program improvement school. So that means that for 5 years and over, our school wasn't improving at all. The API was only 597. That was the Academic Performance Index. That's the state exam. That's the California state exam that they give. The target was 800, and we were only at 597. It was bad. And it was overcrowded. We had overcrowded conditions, as I mentioned, of 5,000 students. In 2006, actually it was 2007, that our auditorium was burned down. And we replaced that building with bungalows. Okay, so that made matters worse. They were bungalows, they weren't in the best conditions. So add all that together, and the environment was really not conducive to learning. So we had to make a difference. And 597 was an API. It was really low that the superintendent said, like Mr. Hubbard mentioned, there is no way we can continue this. We've given Garfield many chances, and I'm willing to put it on the bidding block because somebody has to make a difference for all these kids, and it hasn't been done. So they put it up for bid, and they had charter schools bid for it. They had neighboring districts bid for it, private businesses bid for it, and of course, the school site. A group of teachers and staff members got together, and students and parents, and said, we want to keep it the way it is, but we want to improve it. So the superintendent said, okay, well, if you want to do this, you have to write a plan. And the best plan, in combination with a community vote, will get the school. So we had town hall meetings. They were super crowded town hall meetings, people listening to everyone talk about how they were going to improve the school. But what you have to remember, with what I showed you earlier, it's a school with a lot of tradition. So most of the people that showed up were people from the community. So what happened was that overwhelmingly, the community pressured the district and said, we want Garfield to stay at LAUSD. We don't want to bid it out. So we're going to come up with a plan. So teachers and everyone got together and they wrote a document. It's called the Public School Choice Plan. And they wrote everything that was going to be, that they were promising to take place at the school. So the district wasn't really too impressed with the plan, but the political pressure that was there, they said, okay, we're going to give Garfield another chance. But in doing that, the principal that was there felt really stressed out and he had to leave. So I was offered the opportunity to come in and basically had to rewrite the plan. The superintendent said, you know, this plan is okay, but it still needs a lot of work. So when I got in there in the middle of the school year, in 2010, actually I got there in 2010, we had to rewrite the plan. So you have to think about something here, because when I got there, years before, I started my teaching career at Garfield High School as a teacher's assistant, okay? And I remember working in the English department, and I would help the teacher correct all the journals that were there, all the journals that kids would do quick writes on. And they were really, really powerful stories that the kids would share about immigration, about domestic abuse, about growing up poor, living in a household with about 3 families. So I would read these journals and I would correct them and give them back to the kids, and they would really appreciate that I would put a comment, make a comment on what they were writing. So the next time we gave that same assignment, they would write even more. Pretty soon they were just writing for the first 10 minutes of each class, nonstop. We wouldn't correct grammar. We just wanted them to practice writing because they weren't doing that. So one day I was going home on a Friday afternoon, and I had my arms filled with these journals, and I was walking to my car. I was a young man, and in getting to my car, the journals fell. And there was a teacher, veteran teacher, ready to retire, had been there since the 60s, late 50s. And he goes, "Sir, are you Mr. Huerta?" And I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "I've been hearing great things about you. Hopefully one day you'll be a teacher here. And you know what you're going to find here? You're going to find that we have great kids, but lousy students." And that's a teacher that was well revered, that was well respected. He didn't mean anything by it. I mean, he said terrible students, lousy students. He wasn't being mean about it. That's truly what he believed, right? So what did that tell me? What does it tell us? That the bar wasn't raised, it was down here. Okay? As long as the kids are respectful and we go through our day and I teach them the basic things that have to just to carry on through the day, we'll be fine. But if the bar is here, that's where the kids are going to be. So that burned inside of me. That really hit the core, and it upset me. Here I am reading these journals of these kids' journeys, of these kids' lives, and this man saying that they're lousy or terrible students. And that's when I said, I hope one day I'm able to come here and teach, which I eventually did, to try to help that mindset. And we saw that. So when I came into Garfield as a principal, I was hoping to be a principal at a middle school first to get some experience. This was my first experience as a principal, okay? And it was tough. So just try to think about it. The community was in chaos. The scores had dipped. They wanted to sell the school, and here I am with the new principal. Teachers were saying, thinking, what is this guy going to do, right? That's what they were thinking, judging, who knows what they were doing. But I went in there. The principal told me, the superintendent told me, "Mr. Huerta, on the first day of school, you're going to go in there and you're going to have a faculty meeting, period by period." Those in education know that in high school, every teacher has a conference period, each hour of the day, each period. So I met with all the faculty, and I gave them my mission and my vision. Okay, and that's what I told them. We all have to do this. We were almost taken over by another school district. We want to keep the community intact. We want to keep the school in its place, but we need to change this. Okay? And at first, I'm sure it was just lip service for them. They must have heard it many, many times before. That every student can succeed. We must believe that. If you have any doubts, and I told them right there, just like I'm telling you, if you have any doubts, I'm telling you right now, teachers, and I know they never heard this before, and I probably could have gone in trouble for it, but you must believe that. If you don't believe that, teachers, I said, this is not the place for you. Because from this point on, we must believe that every student can succeed. Okay? All courses must address the California standards, the state standards. All the states have their standards with innovation. So you can be as creative as you want. We don't want to give you a script on how to teach your subject matter. We want you to teach it the way you know best, But just follow the standards, make sure that we cover them. Get as creative as you want. Data must drive instruction and decisions. My decisions were driven, I told them, my decisions will be driven by the data that we look at. What teachers are teaching what are the scores, who's doing better and where, and how it's going. We have to increase parent involvement. We had no parents at that school. We had 5,000 students and no parent volunteers. We had to lower suspensions. When I saw the suspension rate, we had that year, when I walked in, we had 110 suspensions already. No fault of mine. They were already there, okay? So that whole year after that, we didn't get one more suspension, but we already had 110. The year before that, we had 638 suspensions, and we'll see that. And the year before that, about 538, or vice versa. I'll show you. And it's commonplace. In California, over 700,000 suspensions are normal in a year. And like we were talking about yesterday with Joyce, if you look at who those kids that are being suspended are, by far are kids of color. Okay? So we had to improve attendance. If they're not in school, we can't teach them. And we had to improve graduation rates. We had a 51% dropout rate at that school. What was happening with these kids? That was from the past, right? So we had to change the school culture. And I'm going to briefly go over that in the workshops. We'll go more into detail. But we converted our year-round calendar to a traditional calendar, and we were only able to do that because a new school opened up about 4 miles away. It alleviated the overcrowdedness at our school, and I took advantage of that and made some changes right off the bat. So half of the student body the following year went to the new school, and some of the faculty and staff went with them. We reduced enrollment from 5,000 to 2,700. Now it's around 2,500 students. Still a lot of students at a high school. We had to create, I was thinking, this is too huge. And I had done a lot of reading on DeFore and other people that are talking about small learning communities. And so what we did is we broke up our school into 4 academies, 4 pathways, plus a magnet school. Actually, there were like 5 pathways. So students would be able to choose what pathway they wanted, and that would be their school. In that one building, they would spend the rest of the 4 years there, and have lunch together. If they needed a classroom that their school didn't offer, like orchestra or jazz or music or art, they can passport to another academy on the campus so that they can take what they needed. We had a block schedule. We have a modified 4x4 schedule because we needed intervention. These kids, over 25% of the kids coming into the 9th grade are reading at the 4th or 3rd grade level. And we all know that that's detrimental for their future. So we needed to modify the schedule. So we have 90-minute classes where we embed the intervention during the school day. And why during the school day? Because the kids that need it the most, and I know you know this, will not come to Saturday school and will not stay after school for tutoring. They're going out there. They're not going to stick around at a place where they're not being successful or they feel disconnected with. So we embedded it during the school day. They had no choice. You're going to get reading intervention during the school day, as an example, and math intervention. So we had to get very creative with our schedule. Our class placement based on data. Okay, so I saw the data. I saw what algebra teachers had better success rates. I made sure that the kids that were the neediest went to that teacher. And it was all, and some teachers would tell me, and I know this is a fact. Say, well, Mr. Huerta, I already taught the 9th graders last year. I'm a senior teacher here, and I really want to teach calculus next year. And I would have a sit down with them because that's the way things were being done. If you did your time with the lower level kids, you got rewarded and you went with the seniors the next year. And I had to sit with the math department. I said, we can't be doing that anymore. We have to have our best teachers teaching the subject matter that they're really good at to help those kids that really need it. So some teachers weren't happy. Some teachers left. They left the school. I was able to hire amazing teachers after that. Most of them stayed, though. It was an exception of 1 or 2 that probably left. Targeted curriculum, zone of choice. I can talk about that in our breakout rooms. And we also had professional learning communities where course-alike teachers give up their conference period, their 90-minute block, conference period, and they work with course-alike teachers. So, for example, on Tuesday, all the math department works together in different silos. So you have the Algebra 1 teachers working together, maybe 3 or 4 of them, because we have a large Algebra 1 department, and 2 or 3, and they talk about best practices, what's working in their classrooms, what's not working. They talk about students. They share best practices. They make arrangements to visit each other's classrooms. They look at assessments that are all planned by them. Everything's teacher generated. We don't need the outside district telling us how to do our job. I had to convince the district to leave us alone and do our work. And we have shown them that our teachers are the ones with the power and the knowledge. So our Algebra 1 scores more than quadrupled in 2 years, okay? Because it was the teachers, it wasn't top down anymore. Teachers knowing what the needs of our students were and working together in those professional learning communities. And mind you, we have a strong union. Before, principals were afraid to go work at Garfield. They would do it as a favor. They would say, the superintendent would say, give me 2 years. Give me 2 years and I'll promise you to put you in an office at the central district. And they would go in there, but if 2 years, you're just doing your time, making sure everything's stable and nothing out of control, so you won't lose that opportunity. You're not really being innovative because you're only doing it for 2 years. And the reason they didn't want to go there, because we had one of the strongest unions in the whole district, teacher unions. And there's a lot of good things coming out of the unions. But sometimes we have to work together. And I was a teacher there. I happened to be a teacher at Garfield for a while. And so I was part of that union. I understood it. And they all respected me. I respected them. So when I became the principal, I had a little credibility. So they understood that I wasn't lying to them, that I really wanted the best for our kids and for the teachers. And so we worked together. So change in budgeting allocations, we all get funded. And budget decisions were also data-driven, okay? Areas of need, we saw that 10th grade ELA, English Language Arts, Algebra 2, intervention during the day, credit recovery. So we used our money on all of those things, giving teachers auxiliaries, paying for teachers to come to tutor after school. We would get supplies for those teachers. I didn't buy TVs, and I didn't buy VCRs or DVD systems, anything like that. That's what we did. Expenditures were all focused, and still are, on student academic achievement. Priority is on personnel and not technology. So some of my neighboring schools would be bragging about they have new iPads for all the students, they have new iPads for the teachers, which are needed, I understand. TVs in every classroom, smart boards. I couldn't spend it on that. I needed more teachers to lower class size, and that's what I did at our school. The key personnel were teachers. We hired more counselors, okay, because it was 600 to 1 ratio before, and that's crazy. You can't really work with a child. Now it's down to 300 to 1, and it's still a lot, and it's a lot and they're happy. We hired a psychologist. We also hired an attendance counselor as well. But we needed the parents, okay? We needed the parents, and we knew that we had to bring them on board. So we opened the doors, we welcomed them before they were afraid, intimidated. Why? Many of our parents never attended a school of their own. And in the workshop, I'll show you what their education level's like. Very rare did anyone attend high school or even completed high school. Some only went up to the 2nd grade. So school is an intimidating place for them. We had to open up our arms, we welcomed them. At an 8th grade orientation, I went to all the middle schools, and I talked to the parents. I hope you choose to come to Garfield because we are a school of choice. They don't necessarily have to go to that school. If they live in the area, they get to choose. So I would go and recruit parents. I gave them my mission, my vision. I told them, if you choose Garfield, I give you my commitment that we will take care of your child for the next 4 years. And so but I need you to be part of it. So we offer daily classes for parents. We have a monthly calendar that we set up before even school starts. We set it up in the summer. A variety of topics. Everything. We have our math coaches teaching them. We have our language arts coaches teaching them. Teachers are teaching them. All the instruction that goes on, all the new innovation that's going on in the classroom, we teach our parents during the school day and after school for those that work. So they're involved with everything that we're doing in the school. Anything I present to the teachers, I also present to my parents. So in essence, we have now over 80 volunteers that assist us every single day. I wish we had more, but I'm telling you folks, 80 volunteers. They're helping me with lunch lines, with supervision during lunch, with supervision of the hallways, they're walking into classrooms, they're helping the teachers. It's a great environment. And the kids know the parents, and the parents know the kid's mother. So if that kid misbehaves, it's going to tell the mother. It's common sense, very simple. What I'm telling you today is very simple. And if you saw the video, it tells you at the end that it's a very simple formula, okay? So I also have monthly coffee and data with the principal. Like I told you, I share everything that I share with the faculty. Volunteers recognize students, teachers, and administrators with various events. And Garfield was voted most parent-friendly school in LAUSD last year because everybody's in there, everybody's working together. It's not just lip service, it's actually happening. And we have community resources. So I needed the teachers on board. I gave them my mission. I told them what we had to do. Some of them heard, oh, this guy's crazy, he's gonna make us do all these things. I'm going to the new school. Let me tell you what happened to the new school. Brand new buildings, state-of-the-art auditorium, everything's brand new. It's worse than Garfield was when they were gonna take it over 3 years later. It's not happening. It's not working. So all these teachers that heard my vision, and I told them I was gonna hold them accountable, but I said I'm gonna hold myself accountable as well. And my administrative staff, and my custodial staff, my school police officer that's there every day, and my cafeteria workers, they were all in the same meeting. All of us have to work together. While those that didn't want to do it, they left to the new school, they're having their issues, okay? But we also have our community-based organizations, okay? We have churches that come and help us. We have Bienvenidos is an agency that comes in and helps with, and they give workshops to our parents on domestic abuse, child pregnancy, teenage pregnancy. They talk about college, education after high school. They give our parents a lot of workshops, self-motivation workshops. They give them self-esteem workshops, anger management workshops, and they also work with our students that need it. And I'll tell you a little bit when we refer. I don't suspend. Those folks come, and we work with them to help our students. Teleco is another one, and we have different clubs. We had one church come in, and they said, you know, the way to get to these kids is by having them go to church. And our kids are, there's, you know, many churches, many denominations are represented in our school, and so much so that I said, look, I can't really promote that because we have a law in California and the nation, obviously, separation of church and state. But let's get creative. How are we going to do this? So I was talking to Chuck Hubbard about this, and I hope it's okay to call you Chuck. Okay. And we started a Bible club, a teacher. I said, well, I can't have a pastor come in. I'm going to get in trouble. So there was a member of a church, a local Christian church that came in, who's a teacher, and said, I'll do the Bible club. I'm not kidding you, folks. I thought, Bible club at Garfield? Come on, these guys look like thugsters. These guys are bigger than me. They look mean, these kids. You're going to have a church here? And a Bible study class? Because we have so many clubs. We have everything you can think of, which is something else I wanted to implement at our school. Because we need kids to get involved with extracurricular activities. That club started with about 15 students. And most of them, because the teacher said, we'll give you extra credit. I told you about being creative. And so they got creative because we knew if they sat there, they would love what they were going to hear. And so I know I'm going to be running out of time, but we now have about 80 students in that club. Okay? They listen to, they hear about the Bible, they read it. You see them walking around. Some of them are embarrassed. They put it in their backpack. And, you see a kid that's, that if you would see him, you would cross the street, right? But he's got his Bible and he's got his books, and they're able to share out their story in that Bible club. So much that now we have parents coming in, they're donating pizza so the kids can spend more time, because you figure it's only at lunchtime. So they have to get in line to get lunch. There's 25 kids in line getting lunch, right? 2,500 kids getting lunch, right? So they were only getting like 15 minutes of Bible study. So now the parents got together, poor parents, and they got money together, and they get pizza, for example, or Subway. They get Subway sandwiches to donate for the Bible club, to the Bible club. So they can now go straight to the room and listen to the word a little longer. Okay, so that's a beautiful thing. Now, data. I know you will appreciate this. 533 was the API. That's the Academic Performance Index. Unacceptable. In 2000, I can't see that well from here. What is that? 2006, 2007. Then it went to 597. 2008, 2009, 593. And what do they test them on? They test them on in mathematics, algebra. They test them in language arts, their writing skills and reading skills. They test them in science, okay, and in social science, history. So then, when I got there in 2009, 2010, I put all this together. Even though I got there half year, in the middle of the year, we had to put all this together. We had assemblies to motivate these kids. I gave them the vision, the mission of the school, and what we were going to do. We jumped up to 632. Okay? But the following year, when everything was already in place and everybody acclimated to the system of having that block schedule, having these clubs on campus, having great sports program, having parent volunteers there every day, having the community coming together, the community organizations working with us, having the support from the superintendent, having all teachers connected with the kids, and in the workshop I'll tell you how that was done, connecting with the kids, having the teachers having the teachers collaborating during their conference time, okay, and that was, all that together, we jumped up to 705, about over 70 points. There was no other school in California, folks, that went up that high, that went that high in 1 year, that year. So the following year, we were like, wow, so everybody wanted to see what was happening at Garfield. So we had all these calls to see what was happening at Garfield. Why is it so great? What did you do? And I thought they wanted to hear about this, about the instructional piece. But they didn't want to hear about that. They didn't know how we did this. They were also, the naysayers, the non-believers, came over and started seeing how we tested the kids, how we did everything. They were so impressed on how we tested all those kids that Sacramento came down and sent some of my staff to go train the people in Sacramento how to test the way we did. Okay, so it was legit. So we went up 706, we went up 1 point, and then we went up to 714. So we're moving up. But that's not what they were interested in. And I'll show you. So, and I'll go more into this in the workshops. We can see how we jumped up from proficient and advanced. The way it was very stagnant. And then we went up. And let me go forward a little bit. But this is what they were interested in. There was a correlation, folks. If you look on the other slide that I'm going to show the other group, you're going to see the correlation of when the API was low, the suspensions were high. When the API went up, the suspensions dropped. So in 2010, 2011, when we jumped over 70 points, 75 points, we only had 1 suspension. So we went up from 538 in 2007-8, 538 suspensions, 2008, 2009, 683, to 110, because that was already there when I got there, to 1. And that was mandatory, because there's a rule. Thank you. So what does this say? The kids are not going home. I told the kids at first, let me tell you what happened. And I don't know how much time I have, but I'm telling you, I just get excited about this. So the kids would get in trouble. If they had plans to ditch or do something in the past, they would get themselves in trouble. The teacher would suspend them. Willful defiance, young man. How dare you get up and sharpen your pencil without raising your hand? Get out of here. Go to the dean's office. Dean, Johnny, that's the 3rd time you get up and not sharpen your pencil without raising. Go home. Just as an example. I'm exaggerating, right? So they would send them home. Come back in 2 days with your parents. I don't want to see you here unless your parents come with you. So what would happen? The parents work. The kids weren't going to come here. We would communicate with the parents, and sometimes their numbers were wrong. It was just the way people did it. The way we were guilty of that as well. So we wouldn't see this kid. What happens? They get disconnected. Studies show that if you suspend one kid, one time, between the grades of 9 and 12, or even 9th grade, their chances of dropping out of high school are just increase. Why? Because there's no connection. Well, our kids at Garfield are connected. So what happened was that was happening before. So if a kid acted out, for example, and said something like a profanity or something came out of his mouth or her mouth, we knew there was a red flag. There's something happened with this kid. So the teacher would, see that the boy or girl was crying and acting out. They would call us. We'd go and talk to them. We have a threat assessment. Not a threat assessment. That would come later if it was serious. We would have a counselor, myself, sometimes an administrator, talk to the kid. Many times it was because the father and the mother got in a big argument. The father left the night before, or the immigration came and deported the family. Now the boy or the girl is by themselves, just as an example. Or something serious happened in their life that they acted out. They were crying for help. So that boy, we would as an example, we would refer them to the COS team, the coordinated services team, and of services team. So we would figure out what would be the best thing. We have a discipline review team, student support team. We have so many teams that work with these kids. So the kid would then have to go work with those groups and get the help. Community organizations would come and we would help them with whatever the situation was. All of a sudden, that kid that acted out, that's just an example, had all these adults in his life, right? Trying to figure out what to do. That the kid would tell me, Mr. Huerta, just suspend me, just send me home. I don't want to be here. I don't want all this. And I said, no, we're not going to suspend you. We need to help you. If I suspend you, I can't teach you, right? So it got around. It got around. And many kids that were just acting out because they're teenagers, we would keep them in detention, not detention, but they would spend their lunch with a tutor. If they acted out in science or in math, many times it was because they weren't grasping the material. So we would have them spend lunch, we would get them their lunch with a math tutor or their math teacher, and they would spend like 3 days having lunch with a math tutor. And the kids, kids, they want to socialize with their friends at lunch. They don't want to be in that room. So that stopped. That got around. If you mess around, you're going to go in there and you're not going to hang out with your friends. So all of a sudden they knew. What did they know? They knew that we cared. They knew that we cared, and they would challenge us. They didn't get the attention at home. They got it at school sometimes. So we connected. Now, I talked about the dropout rate. Now, this is a 4-year cohort graduation rate. They look at the graduation rate. This was Garfield's graduation rate. Now, it's not the current seniors that are there, because the current seniors that are there, 99% will graduate this year. They look at 4 years. They look at all the kids that came into Garfield in the 9th grade, and 4 years later, how many of those that came in are going to graduate? Well, many times they leave the state because of economic issues, or they move to another school. All that is counted against us. So that's why our numbers aren't 100%. But look, 2008, we had 45% were graduating only. 2009, 54%, 57%. Now, folks, in 2013, last year, we had 85%. Look at the district average, 69%. 85%. And when I tell you, that's why I wanted you to see the video. When I tell you this, every kid in our school, if you know anything about East Los Angeles is tough in itself. This is on the east side. Every student qualifies for a free meal. What does that mean? They're all in the poverty level. Every student. We don't ask for tickets. They don't have to get embarrassed about getting a ticket because you're a poor kid. Everyone's poor. So they all get in line. We don't ask for tickets. Everyone gets in line, everybody eats. And it's simple, right? And so what's happening? So these kids have all this support. They have the community organizations. They have the Bible club. They have all these clubs. And I didn't even get into the sports programs. We have great sports programs. We have parents at the school. We have no suspensions. We're not suspending. We're not sending you home. They know that. I'm not kidding you. So what happens? It creates an environment that's conducive to learning. Okay? You walk into my school, folks, and I'm not bragging. I welcome any of you. If any of you after this want to visit my school, I would welcome you. If you want to bring teachers over, I will welcome you. You'll see this. You'll never see graffiti on our campus, ever. It's not that we're sticking by it and yelling at kids and you better not. We don't even do that. You won't see any graffiti. And this is East LA. It's known for that. I met somebody yesterday, one of the pastors here, that told me that he grew up in LA Unified. He goes, there's no graffiti there? I go, no. He knows what I'm talking about. Schools are filled with graffiti. The neighborhood may still have it, but it doesn't come on a campus. They're not dressed down like the kids like to dress down, looking as thuggy as they can or as tough as they can. They're all kids walking around. They look like nerds. They're good. They look like nerds. And so what happens? Kids are not fighting at my school. There used to be fights all the time. They do come in with bad habits from the middle school, I have to say. So the first 2 months are tough for us. But But you know what? It's not us putting them in place. It's the kids, the seniors. Hey, what are you doing? You an idiot? You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get kicked out of the school. And so they kind of calm it down for us. You won't see that. And what happens during a school day? 25 plus 100 students. You walk into my campus, onto our Garfield campus during the school day. We had visitors the other day. They said, are you in session today? I go, yeah. We have 2,500 students. Where are they? Because it's quiet. It's quiet. They're all in their classrooms. No one ditches. No one's walking around because we have all these parents everywhere, right? We have a systems in place. We have a system in place. Okay? So what happens here? So students with 96% or higher attendance, we have to work a little bit on that. That's 96% or higher. 69, it went up. By the end of last year, this data came in, we had about 72. This year it's improving a lot more. So the kids are in school. They're not getting suspended. They're learning from the best teachers. We offer so many advanced placement classes in our schools. We offer 25 advanced placement courses. Okay, and you know what that's about. They receive college credit. CASE, the California High School Exit Exam, I'm not sure if Texas has one, but it doesn't matter how many A's you get in high school in California. If you can't pass this test, you don't graduate. Okay, you don't get your diploma. So we went up to 81%, a little dip in language arts the year before, but 81%, that's on their first try. They get numerous opportunities to retake the test before they graduate. But on their first shot, 81% is very good. Now, what happens to these kids? Let me tell you, folks, every kid at our school has to have the A through G requirements. Those are the requirements that are necessary to get into college. Every 9th grader through 12th grader, it's mandatory that you have an A through G requirement. They don't take as many electives as they used to because every student has to be college ready or career ready. Okay? So they can make up their mind where they want to go. It's not like, oh, well, I'm a senior now. I wish I would have taken those college courses because now I really want to go to college. No. They're all going to have the choice. They're all going to be ready in the senior year. So it's tougher. They have to take more Spanish classes, more foreign language classes. They have to take more math classes, more language arts classes. So, and this has gone up. So last year, I have to brag, 27 of our students were admitted to UCLA. That is a record in California. And every UC in California is represented by Garfield students last year, every year, this year even more. Now, let me see if I have the breakdown. Okay, I'm getting the signal. So UC's community college out of state, they're going to, this year, Brown University has 9 students were accepted this year. Dartmouth, Vassar, Occidental, Whittier College, UCLA, they're going to Ivy League schools. We have 3 kids that are going to Yale next year. They're all going to college, they're all ready. So let me tell you what's happening. Our school is filled with banners of colleges. We want a college environment, and we have it. Our students, so one thing I learned, folks, is that, let me see if it's here. Let me go here. Remember that man that told me what he told me? I told that story to my faculty and to my students, and they didn't like it. So I had t-shirts made out like this, and it says, Garfield High School, we have great kids and outstanding students. Not terrible, lousy students. We have outstanding students. So it can be done. We did it at our school. Kids from lower level, economically lower levels, they're doing amazing things. Just I want to share one more thing. Before I got here, the day before, one of our students was awarded by Foot Locker a $20,000 scholarship. This young man has a 4.28 GPA, and he was homeless for many years. His mother, he told a story, tearjerker of a story. His mother, he was 5 years old. His mother left him at a bus stop and said, "Son, I will be back for you." So the boy said, and I was confident my mother was going to come back for me. And the mother never came back. And hasn't seen her since. And father's in and out of jail. So grandmother couldn't take care of him. After 13 years, finally his great-grandmother took care of him. He lives about 20 miles away from my school. And they have this rule in California where, in Alley Unified, where you can choose a school that has a higher academic performance index score, higher academic score. You can choose that school if you could find your way to the school and they have space for you. So he takes a train and 2 buses to get to Garfield every day. And the young man was accepted to Dartmouth, an Ivy League school, and he will get a full ride for that. And he's just one example of the many stories that we have at Garfield High School. So people, it's possible. I know it's unique to our school what we did, but it is possible and there are strategies. And I welcome any of you that have any questions about that in our workshops, I think. But I sincerely tell you that I'm willing to help and give you guidance if that's necessary. And thank you all for listening to me this morning. Thank you.